Welcome to Down the Road Show. This is Casey Murdoch, and it's been an amazing week after coming back from MJ BizCon. I mean, I'm still suffering in pain and all kinds of other ways, but like I'm uplifted spirit-wise and energy-wise, just being there and meeting so many other people and continuing this new series on my podcast, Cannabis Conversations with Casey. I am so excited for today's guest, Jyl Wheaton. I'm especially saying your last name because I'm a nerd and a Star Trekkie. So normally I don't use last names, but I'm going to drop it here. How you doing today, Jyl?
I'm doing great, Casey. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to get to talk to you and just kind of share my story with everybody out there.
Yeah, so I heard you a couple weeks ago on Sunday before I started Cannabis Church, and I caught the tail end of your story in the Canna Moms room, which I love. I love my Canna Moms room. I love all my Canna Moms, mad respect.
Yeah.
And I was just like super fascinated because, well, let's start at the beginning. You grew up in Idaho. What tribe are you from again? So that my white ass doesn't mispronounce that.
Well, I should introduce myself properly in that way. So my name is Jyl Wheaton Abraham, my full name. My mom is Eileen Abraham, and my uncle was Chief Raymond Abraham. And I am a member of the Kootenai tribe of Idaho. My tribe is in the northernmost part of Idaho, right next to the Canadian border. And we're one of 7 tribes, one of 7 bands of Kootenai Indians.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous up there in North Idaho. And that was one of the things, like, you know, being born in Idaho myself, that was an immediate connection. And oh man, do I want to jump right into that immediately?
We can talk about Idaho right off the bat.
Let's talk about Idaho right off the bat and how they're still stuck in their colonialism ways.
Yeah, Idaho.
They're going to be the last ones to get cannabis out there and be okay with it. And so you were a guerrilla grower, according to the information you shared to me. So, like, you know, lay it on me. I already told you how I feel about Idaho.
Well, so I grew up in Alaska, actually, and didn't move to Idaho until the 8th grade. And so just when, you know, I was really starting to have my own opinions about the world and kind of get a bigger sense of what's going on. And so growing up in Alaska, very multicultural, very
open, free.
His presence, yeah, very open, very free, very respectful of like the individual, but also understanding that like we're a collective. And so 8th grade, my parents moved me to Bonners Ferry, Idaho. And oh my gosh, at that time there were about 2,000 people. There's about maybe 3,000 now.
little town people.
Yeah, and I had come from a city of, you know, 150,000 people at the time. So I'll never forget my first day at school. The school itself was like 3 classrooms. One classroom had a divider turned into 2 classrooms. And I just really got the sense that education wasn't valued. And, you know, I just remember thinking, what have my parents done to me that very first day? And so I came to Idaho in about the middle of the year, and in the spring, in the 8th grade, they do Idaho history. And so, I mean, we spend probably a few minutes on the 5 federally recognized tribes in Idaho. And I'll just never forget the teacher saying, but all the Indians are gone now. And I sat there, and so I raised my hand and I said, well, I'm a Kootenai Indian and I'm right here. And the school is filled with Kootenays, so we're still here. And he looked at me and he said, well, not any real Indians.
Oh.
I just remember looking at him and thinking, what are you talking about? And so that was kind of my introduction to
So at so your first scalping was in 8th grade.
It was pretty rough. And I definitely wouldn't say scalping because
but that's what he expected from you. He expected every stereotype and for you to run around the class going, oh, you're not a real.
Pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And that honestly, like everything you're saying, like right now and doing, like I'm sure people are like, oh, but the reality is, like, coming from Idaho, that is how people acted, and I'd like to say people don't act like that now, but I can't believe that they don't. So that's Idaho in a nutshell. As far as like being a native, like my tribe has a unique history there.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about them, and then we'll go into like cannabis in Idaho.
Girl, come on, we're just getting started. Hint people on Clubhouse and listening. She's also an anthropologist. This woman's like so diverse and super smart. Like, this is going to be a fun conversation. Anyway, I want to hear more history about your tribe. I love learning about that stuff because I didn't learn about it in history class in Idaho.
No, probably not my tribe in particular. So my tribe, like I said, is the Kootenai tribe of Idaho. And overall, we call ourselves the Tinacha. And so archaeologically, since I'm an archaeologist,
and you're not just an archaeologist, you have more than one degree.
Yeah, well, I'm an anthropologist and an archaeologist, and I have a minor in queer studies. So I was actually Oregon State University's first graduate of queer studies, and that really kind of tied together, like queer theory really tied together a lot of my experiences and thoughts and opinions, and really learning from Indigenous teachers kind of meshed into who I am now. So on that note, so my tribe, archaeological evidence goes back, at least 12,000 years. I actually spent the summer working on an archaeology dig, going back and forth from Idaho to Oregon to work on the farm and do this archaeology. And we were finding stuff over 2 meters down, 2.5 meters down, which it's going to be about a year before we can get any kind of dating back. But normally archaeology goes down about a meter and a half, putting us 10-12,000 years. And so 2.5 meters is going to be really exciting to see what kind of dates we get. And why I bring that up is because, our tribal history says that, we've been here forever. We were created for that land. The creator made that place for us, and that we have always been there. And so,
damn right.
As a Native person, I respect that. I recognize that. And as a scientist, I, see the archaeological evidence to back that up. So that's kind of how I mesh being an Indigenous scientist and an Indigenous person. And so, so my tribe has been there forever. And the interesting thing about my tribe, one of the interesting things is we speak a linguistic isolate. There are no other languages in the world that are like ours.
What?
Yeah, there's very few linguistic isolates in the world, but the Kootenai language is one of them. And
It's interesting.
It is really interesting, and it's a very beautiful language. And
Would you mind sharing?
I actually can't speak my language. My mom's first language was Kootenai, and she didn't learn English until the first grade. And she was sent to public school. She was born in 1951, so this would have been about 1957, right in there, in Idaho, Montessori. So she was really traumatized by her experiences there and how the teachers treated her. And so
Well, I mean, yeah, look, look at how much they're digging up in Canada right now. Idaho, Utah, and the rest of the United States can't be any different. I'm not an idiot. Like,
no, exactly. And and on that note, my grandmother was Canadian, Kootenai, and she went to a residential boarding school. And so I'm not sure you and I have talked about this, but I've made posts on Instagram talking about how intergenerational trauma gets passed down, and how things that happened to my grandmother, have affected my life. And one of those things is not having the language, because
that's your history.
it was taken away from us. And a lot of times that's an expression that you hear, our language was taken, but you don't really understand like the violence. It's not something you take from somebody. It's an actual like breaking down of your person and your spirit and being. And taking that, your experiential awareness of the world. And
it's systematic, it's on purpose, and it's not overnight.
Yeah. And one thing, thinking about Kootenai and the language, and being an English speaker, is thinking about how all the different ways of expression of places, beings, and feelings that English has no ability to convey, and how just transactional English is as a language. It's just all about how can we get things from me to you, you to me, and around the world, and describe things really as a form of like possession. And trying to convey the beauty of a sunset. I mean, what can you say? The beauty of the sunset, the colors are pretty. There's so many other ways you can express those things that English doesn't really give us the ability to do. So
I hear you there. English highlights all the prideful, childish, petty humanness like that we have. Like, yeah, I mean, it can be a beautiful language when used right, but at the same time, when not,
still like transactional.
Yeah,
very to the point,
almost emotionless sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, so then how does the I told you I was going to go down some rabbit holes. So how does the anthropology and all of that connect to your cannabis world?
Well, like in those ways right there, like I was just saying. So, I grew up, number one, I grew up in Alaska, like I was saying, very multicultural, but also legal weed. And, for all intents and purposes, and always being aware that there was a thing, but as a kid, not knowing what that was. Marijuana was not anything my parents were into, but I remember smelling it around, just around, and I was curious as to what that smell was.
Yeah, I can smell a dispensary a block away now. Like it's.
Oh, I love it, especially coming from Idaho. Getting that whiff of herb is very, very nice. It's as nice as sending it out into the world.
Yeah, and well, because Idaho's a beautiful state. Definitely, everyone should drive through Idaho. Notice how I said drive through.
Well, I really liked it there. I really liked how pretty it was.
It's gorgeous.
And I met my husband there, and we ended up building.
So is he related to the Wheatons? Is he one of those nerds?
I'm the Wheaton. My dad is
Okay.
Wheaton. Yep.
Okay. So give me your, hey, look, I'm Pot Pastor Casey, so obviously I love a good origin story. I told you I was going to ask, how'd you meet your husband?
He had a bicycle shop, and I went into his bicycle shop and
Pedal bike or motorcycle?
pedal bicycles,
Okay.
like mountain bikes.
Okay. Oh, so you're a mountain biker. Okay, you're hardcore.
I used to mountain bike, but he was the hardcore one for sure. But so I met him there, and then he also sold skis and had like some gear, like ski jackets and stuff like that. And so I it was November, it was the opening of ski season. I'm a big snowboarder. I went snowboarding and my snow pants kind of wet through at the end of the day. And I was like, oh, I need new pants. And so I was on the chairlift and I thought, oh, I got to go find some pants because I'm in this little tiny town in North Idaho. And where am I going to find ski pants? Because I'm not going to give up a pow day just to, go get some pants in the city. And then I thought, I'm going to go to that store with the hot guy. And that's how I met my husband.
I gotta go to the store with that hot guy. Oh my God, I love it. That's great. And if you've never, look, everybody should ski Idaho. The snow up there is amazing. Like the skiing, and you can't beat Idaho and Utah for skiing. Sorry, Colorado, it's the truth. So you guys got married, you had some babies. Now you're in Oregon, and your company together is called Hempbest.
It is, yes.
What makes your hemp the best?
Well, we grow everything by hand. We strive, number one, for as fossil-free farming as possible. So we don't have heavy equipment, and we try and compost everything we can. We follow regenerative farming practices at our farm. So we do build our own compost, cover crops, trying to rebuild our land. And then we're so committed to fossil free. My husband actually hunted down 100% plant-based packaging for all of our products. So the cellophane, you can
it's expensive, but you're doing it anyway.
Exactly, because what's the point of growing hemp and trying to be sustainable and save the world if you're still packaging your stuff in plastic?
You guys aren't even using tractors. Of course you're not. Well, why would you? Ooh, here's a bunch of cardboard box.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the ways, is just that we put our heart and soul into everything from the ground on up. And
I'm so madly in love with you and your husband right now, and Hempbest, just knowing that you don't even use fuel on your farm in any capacity. Like,
try our hardest.
I hope all the other hemp and cannabis farmers are listening to this.
It's for us, it's why else are we going to do this? Why else are we going to do this?
It's about the sacred, respectful nature of the plant.
Exactly. And everyone wants to say cannabis will change the world. Cannabis can save the world. Everything that we have, we can make out of hemp. But that starts with using plant-based things yourself. And I know it's harder, and it's not as easy to make big profits. But for my husband Toby and I, this is kind of where what is the world you want to build? Is it just kind of greenwashing the hemp industry, the cannabis industry, or is it actually making that change? So and again, that really goes back to being native and having a different perspective on people's responsibility and relationships to the land and to all living and non-living beings.
And does a lot of that have to do with how your company views things, as well as leaving a better future and a better world and a better company for your children?
Exactly. yeah, we're just really trying our hardest to do everything in the best way we can, and that's why we are hemp best. You know, we're not hemp pretty good.
That's your slogan too, right there, isn't it? You've been saying that for a while, haven't you?
Well, I try, you know, I try and teach people how to, you know, make a good product and, you know, trimming, you know, it always goes back to, you know, when you buy bud, you know, and you think back to the black market days, which is harder and harder to say to younger people. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we used to get that bag, you wanted to open that bag, you wanted to smell it, you wanted it to look nice, and you wanted to feel like what you were getting was so worth the risk, you know, and it was going to be so enjoyable. And I'm from Girdwood, Alaska, so I have very high standards. I have the highest. And so, you know, so I always try and tell people, if, you know, you want to work here, that's what we do. We, you know, we do it the best. You trim it the best, you cure it the best, you grow it the best. You know, you try and be your best because it shows up in the plants from, you know, from when they're growing to when you mail it off and then someone gets a package.
Yeah. No, and you bring up a valid point too, because you know, like legacy, free market, whatever you want to call it. I'm an old school plug, I guess is the new term. Like you know, but back in the day, that was when you got those beautiful nugs compared to the brick ditchweed with tons of stems and seeds in there that like you dropped it on your counter and it said ka-gunk, like you know that horrible stuff. It was obviously smuggled up in a gas tank from Mexico. It still smells like diesel. Like you're gonna smoke it anyway because that's all you got, and you're just trying to manage your pain and your mental health, and you don't know, and you're in your early 20s just doing
See, I
whatever.
never saw that till I got to Idaho.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I thought it was a joke.
Allegedly, I knew people that was going through Utah to get to Idaho back in the day. Allegedly. Anyway, but you bring up about
people like that.
Yeah. But you bring up a valid point because that was when you had those beautiful ones that were trimmed and gorgeous and crystally. Those were the ones you wanted to smoke with your friends, not just to smoke with them and share, but you wanted to show it off. When the flower was that beautiful, you want to show it off when it's the best.
Exactly. So, you know, in my town, Girdwood is famous was for the girdweed. And, you know, it was a thing, especially when you had people come from out of town or out of state. You had to really, you know, show off what you had. So so that's where, you know, that's where we come from. And you know, like you know, you mentioned that I mentioned that, you know, my husband and I were guerrilla growers. We've always taken the pride in what we do. Because you know, why else would you do it? You know, put a lot of effort and time into it. And you know, like I remember wanted legal weed since last century. You know, we've always been wanting this. People have worked so hard for it. You know, medical marijuana patients, I think people, you know, the industry needs to really give them all of the credit for facing so many obstacles, and breaking down barriers for everybody while managing, you know, medical conditions. You know,
and their caregivers. I mean, let's not leave out the canna moms that are out there just trying to help their kids with epilepsy, and nobody's helping, and they're just being judged for it.
Yeah. So, you know, all of us, you know, all the people that have been in this culture for a long time, you know, when we wanted legalization, you know, it's because we wanted quality product. And you know, and that's where, you know, I just really hope that as a whole, that's where we're going, you know, that it's not just, you know, gas station CBD, you know.
No, same. Yeah. I'm like, I woke up today feeling my cannabinoid deficiency today. I was feeling it.
Well, you know, I can help you with that. So.
Well, here, we got to talk right after this because I know you just got done trimming, and I love to make my own CBD coconut oil for brownies and stuff
Oh, nice.
with trim. So, but yeah, no, I'll be happy to talk about your products now that I know you guys don't even use any gas on your farm. Come on, like what
No,
up?
no, we even have an electric mower.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about your packaging because you're talking about how sustainable that is too. Here's an issue I have in the cannabis community. Look, I want to keep things out of children's hand and keep it safe, but I have such bad arthritis. I couldn't get you the link today to even get this interview started.
Yes.
So I have issues even getting in to the products I need that we're keeping safe from children to utilize for myself, just so I can get out of bed to go cook myself food because there's nobody else that's going to cook me food. And if I don't go cook myself food, my hyperglycemia is going to kick in and then my day gets worse. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, forget about it.
Right. Yeah. You're so far behind the ball. It takes so much more effort just to get back to square one, which, again, is, medical cannabis. This is where, this is the difference between recreational and medicinal use right here. It's so important that we have those distinctions. That was one thing when, legislation starting, wherever, as states adopt more and more legalization policies. I wish packaging was something people took into consideration. We were medical cannabis growers, and we used to go to what were called they were kind of like farmers markets for growers in Portland. And this was before, actually this is before dispensaries were like a big thing. And I'm trying to remember how we packaged everything. We did a lot of glass jars and stuff.
See, that's easily recyclable and reusable and
Exactly. And then, legalization came, the medical dispensaries came, and then all of a sudden everything had to be in, the petroleum-based plastic safety packaging, and it's frustrating because, it's just plastic, more one-time use plastic just piling up. But on another sense, it's this whole idea that this is something dangerous that we need to keep out of the hands of children, while we all have this endocannabinoid system, that we need to maintain, and so that we all stay in balance, so that none of us are behind the ball. We don't even think about people that have undiagnosed conditions.
You mean like me? Preach, girl. Keep going.
That don't even realize yet that they need cannabis to help balance themselves out, let alone all the moms and dads and the grandparents who, everybody just basically needs it to keep that endocannabinoid system stimulated and keep us all in balance, and when we're putting it in 3 layers of this medicine in 3 layers of plastic because it's dangerous, on one side, or just kind of, pumping out a product just to make the money off of it on the other. That's just, again, it's not where I thought we would all go when all of us were hoping for legalization back in the day. So I'm not trying to be down. I just hope.
No, but it's the truth. It's
and listen and think about where do we want to go with this? As an anthropologist, as a Native person, I'm really into decolonization and power relations. And, here we have, the cannabis industry is now in this capitalism square. We're trying again to put herb into this box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, for me, it's I don't want to be part of that whole system that just sets up the same kind of power relations we had over and over and over and over again. Then I also want to, I'm trying to envision, how do we have a different kind of industry? What does it actually look like? And that's kept, my husband and I, it's kept us small. It's kept us, just kind of invisible. But at the same time, we're actually getting to create, different approach to the industry from the beginning, rather than going big and then working our way back. You know, we haven't already sent out 6,000 little plastic one-use packages. You know, we're sending out 6,000 plant-based packages in the future. So yeah, so power relations wise, anthropology, indigenous wise, you know, if we truly want to create a different world and have, you know, a different approach, and, you know, have this different cannabis life and get to embrace all the things that we wanted, you know, for me, it's like, okay, well, then how do we live that different life? How do we create that different life? Not just grow plants and join the same system that we don't really like anyways and isn't doing us any good. You know, we always have to remember that, you know, in so many places, including Idaho, this plant is still highly illegal. There's still people sitting in jail, you know, mostly Black and brown people. And, you know, if that's the system we want to change, then we have, you know, we have to look at how we do everything within our industry, you know, and that's just how I think, you know, it's.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're also a consumer besides a grower. So what would you say to all the anti-cannabis people out there about you being a lazy stoner with all your different degrees from universities and your own business and your own success?
Well, besides all of that, I would have to say, well, you know, as an anthropologist, let's break down the word stoner.
Oh, you know, yeah, we're gonna have some fun now. Okay, let's do this.
The word high. You know, where do these ideas come from? Where are they rooted in? And, you know, where are you coming from to think that that's who I am and what I do? Because, you know, on some level, yeah, I am a stoner. You know, look at my background. But I'm a highly educated, motivated, caring, loving, hardworking, badass stoner. Yeah. But usually, you know, I don't really come across those people anymore because CBD has gone so mainstream that everybody just wants to know about hemp.
But they're still not understanding the difference between CBD and THC. So as an educator, educate them.
Well, first we have to, you know, we have to remember that they're the same plant, that, you know, the what is it, the 0.3%, I should know this.
0.03.
0.03.
Or something like that. 0.3, 0.03.
You know, sometimes I still have to.
Irregardless, stupid numbers that some politician made up that doesn't understand anything about anything.
A lone researcher. It wasn't even a politician. It was a lone researcher who just arbitrarily picked this number. You know, and as
of course,
like all of a sudden, you know, you do one thing to do one thing once, and then all of a sudden you're the standard because nobody else is doing the work. You know.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't think he realized, you know, and maybe that was never his intention, but that's just what he picked because of his averages of the plants that he had. And so that's where that number comes from. And because I think I can't remember this guy's name, it's in the book. I'll give you the link later, maybe we can link it up. So anyways,
we don't want to give him public acknowledgement anyway.
It was never his intention, poor guy. But his number was picked up as, you know, that would be what differentiates marijuana, you know, cannabis from hemp, industrial hemp. So that's where all of that comes from. And so this is really an arbitrary distinction that's been made. And so really when we start to look at the plant rather through these lenses of like ordering, control, legality, illegality, recreational use, medicinal use,
dietary.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when we start to see it illegal, legal, when we start to see it just again as this whole plant, again, taking that different approach, you know, rather than taking everything apart, seeing that as you know, one, all of us are connected. Oh my gosh, we're going to find out really quickly that we actually are connected to this plant, that when in our bodies we actually have a system like our nervous system, like our circulatory system, that hooks up with the molecules in the cannabis plant to make our bodies be the best they can. So
Homeostasis.
exactly, we got it, you know, to reach our homeostasis. So we can't really use terms like stoner and high to discuss this plant in an intelligent and, you know, future reaching way. So rather than, you know, frame it in these terms from the beginning, you know, if we want to have these kind of discussions, we need to actually start with this is a plant that humans have grown up with and evolved with for a very long time. You know, we as a species, you know, have this thing called farming, and somehow, you know, this plant, we've figured out that, you know, this plant helps us in so many different ways, and so we've built, you know, these cultures around this plant, and rather than just having to stumble across it like all the other animals in the world, or however they get their cannabinoids.
They get it from the same plant. It used to grow wild. We used to feed it to our farm animals. Like, this is what I talk about all the time. So like, we are born endocannabinoid deficient. Like, I didn't even know I had an endocannabinoid system a year ago. Never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it.
Oh, wow.
And now I have the realization, because of 84 years of prohibition. Think about this: your great-grandparents, my great-grandparents, my mom, who's in the other room, her grandparents were the last generation born with a healthy endocannabinoid system. That it was, the terpenes were still in the air, it was still in their food, it was still in their medicine, it was still in their diet. Yeah. They had so much well-being that they didn't even know it. Like, we don't even know how it feels to be that healthy.
No, exactly. My dad was born in 1924, and he passed away at 94 and a half. And he was fit his whole life, even though he ate bacon and eggs. He loved his martinis. But I just remember always looking at him and you know, knowing that he was older and thinking like, God, they just don't make people like that anymore.
No, they don't.
And you're right, a lot of it is because of, you know, he just had a cleaner world to grow up in, and a world that, you know, didn't have this complete stigma around all things cannabis for way too long, you know, that we're still trying to, I mean, we're just now starting to break away from, except in Idaho. Gonna hold on to that. But the sad thing is, you know, so I moved back to Idaho after college, and got to work with some people from the 5 northern counties in Idaho. And there were several people on that panel that were interested in like hemp legalization for farmers.
Yeah, because let's talk about that as an agricultural crop. How many parts of the plant are there? How much usefulness of the plant are there? And how much of it are we wasting as a hemp and cannabis industry because of either don't know what to do with it or regulations?
Right. Well, every single part of the plant is useful. You know, that's why we farm the way we do, is because there's no waste. You know, if you're with just a little bit more effort, you can actually put back everything you took out. You know, you can stick it back on your soil and keep moving from there. So I forgot your question. I took a bong hit, so right before we did this.
Perfect. Oh, no, that's perfect. Because, well, no, we've been going for 40 minutes too. So, you know, it's good. This is about the point in any podcast or interview where, you know, it's just like, wait a minute, we've been going for a while. What have we talked about? What did you just ask me? What are you hoping to, let me change the question. What are you hoping to find out from that new study in Idaho, anthropology-wise, from your tribe? You think they were using cannabis?
I don't. I don't. But again, I have a professor who says absence of evidence doesn't mean evidence of absence. So I've never seen evidence of like cannabis use, but I have seen like trade maps talking about how Indian hemp was a big trade item at the Dalles in Oregon from my tribe's Aboriginal territory. So I don't know anything about that yet, but I am curious to learn more.
Me too. Let me know when you find out more, because
yeah, I'm really interested in it. There are different plants that we would grow and that grew wild that we would smoke and stuff. And then, but I don't know as far as like if my tribe used cannabis. And actually, it's something I've never actually seen any evidence of in the Americas. And I don't know if that's just because it hasn't been researched or if it's because the plant wasn't here. And so
yeah, the history of the plant is very convoluted, and where it started, where it ended up. Look, I'm of the belief, take it all the way back to Gaia and when this Earth split. So there, I think there was a little bit on every continent.
Dude, and this is where like the very cautious archaeologist in me is like,
I'm hypothesizing without any scientific base. You're a scientist.
Archaeologists are well versed and could be perhaps evidence suggests. So I don't know.
As a pastor, as the pot pastor at Cannabis Church, it is my religious belief that God put that plant on this planet before us. So like he made the angels, then he made the plant, then he fucked up and made humanity. That's just my opinion.
Well, I don't think that like humans are innately messed up. I don't think that, and I don't think
I don't either. I think we act that way.
We like we're destined to destroy this place. I think that a particular culture, that didn't start in Europe, that didn't start with what we think of as like white people. This is something that's gone on for a long time, for thousands of years, and way back in the day, the ancestors of the Irish, the French, all of these people, the culture that we live in, that is, encompassing and then taking over the earth and destroying it, they're victims of that same thing as well. And really, we like to think of it as like an agricultural revolution. We always have to think, we think of revolution as like a fight and this like power struggle, which again, is this mindset that we can overcome, and we have to only structure ourselves as one over the other rather than a whole. If we think of revolution as a turnaround,
like the Industrial Revolution.
Well, again, that was a fight against nature.
I'm not helping, am I?
But that's again this culture. It's, if we're going to have another revolution, rather than having it against fight, we should have it as an idea of like turning around.
And an enlightenment revolution.
Just a change in direction. Like instead of using petroleum-based plastic, get that plant-based tape.
Well, because I started out as a nerdy production and loving my entertainment, I like to end every show with my same three favorite questions that I've been doing for like the last 10, 11 years.
Okay.
So, who's your favorite superhero or just regular kind of hero? Mine's Superman.
Oh gosh. Xena, warrior princess.
Why? Not that that needs an explanation.
Or to the heat of battle. Her courage will save the world. Change the world, one of the two. She did it all.
And she's still doing it as Lucy Lawless in public. I love that woman to death. She's amazing. So any true hero is only as good as their villain. Who's your favorite villain? Mine's Darth Vader.
Well, it would have to be Callisto, because she was Callisto. That was.
Why? I like that. I've never heard that answer.
She was a bad bitch. She loved it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of bad bitches. Who is your real life hero? Who inspires you on a daily basis or used to?
My parents.
You can cry. I cry all the time.
Well, like I said, yeah, my dad's gone, and he always encouraged me. He didn't like the marijuana for a long time, and he's kind of funny because right before he passed away, he they came to visit, and he had this like big newspaper clipping, and he said, "Well, I know that you're growing hemp. You should look at this." And so I read, it was this big, huge article, and it was about cannabis oil and how it's, there's CBD in it, and it can heal your body. And I looked at him and I said, "Daddy, this is what I do."
That's so cute.
So like he was just, he didn't get what I did at all, but he always supported me, and both my parents gave me a really good life in Alaska and just taught me how to, be myself, and my mom has overcome more than I could ever imagine. And is just a good person, despite just all, the shit she had to grow up with as a Native woman. And so, yeah, it's my parents.
Love and compassion is my favorite human strength. It is a blessing and something that should be spread and used more often.
Absolutely, I agree.
So with that said, I love your love and your compassion and your passion for the cannabis plant and for your culture and your history and your family and moving forward in the industry and helping change the world, because we know cannabis can help save this planet.
Yep, 100%. And gosh, you know what? Thank you. I love that you're doing this podcast, that you're putting this good energy out there, that we never even got to talk about. I was really curious as to how you vocalize how you want to use your power as a white male in our society to advance other people's voices, and we never got to talk about that. So I just,
because it ain't about this ain't about me. I go on other people's podcasts to talk about me. Like this, I've been doing this 11 years, and there's one thing I've learned from my very small fan base is that they do not want to hear me talk. They've heard my stories. and look, that's what the pandemic taught me too. And watching my different white friends struggle with their white privilege and not understand the difference between white privilege and racism, and just having to block so many family members and other people on Facebook because I was tired of seeing their QAnon posts and all their other dumb posts. It's just like, do some fact checking for the love of God. It doesn't mean I don't love them, and they can still text me and call me. I'm always there for them. They got my number. I just don't want to see their crap in my feed.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, the pandemic taught me a lot about allyship and watching how many people were claiming to be allies when I knew them personally and knew their true feelings and intentions.
Wow.
And it was the point when a Black friend of mine was defending me in some comments on Facebook and being like, leave Casey alone. He's an ally. He's one of the true allies. And that was when I realized, like, all these people calling themselves allies, like, it's, as a white person, it's not your job to call yourself an ally. It's your job to shut the fuck up and listen. And that's how you learn, and that's how you become an ally. It's their job to tell you if you're an actual ally, not yours. Nobody wants, just because it's the First Amendment and you got the freedom of speech, doesn't mean anybody wants to hear it. Doesn't mean anyone wants to, it gives a shit. And guess what? You still get repercussions with the shit you say. That's called free will, freedom of choice, God-given by the universe. So deal with it, people. You're gonna open your stupid mouths, you're gonna get smacked in it every now and then, or being told to shut the fuck up. So,
well, the thing is, you know, being an ally, you know, calling yourself an ally implies that you're actually in the fight, you know, and being in the fight means you speak up, you know, you take that step back, you learn where you can be of your best help, because that's what everybody, you know, if you're fighting that good fight, you find where you're best fit and you act accordingly. You know, you don't just stand on the sidelines and be like, no, I totally support that. While still benefiting from the system that, you know, you profess to not like. So yeah, so being an ally, if you call yourself an ally, you know, you should know where you're fighting in the fight. So you figured your spot out.
I say the things people are too afraid to say. And yeah, I get angry about it. I deserve to be angry about it. I have lots of anger built up against what we have done to this planet as humanity and what we've done to each other as humanity.
Yes, exactly.
My anger is justified and righteous as far as I'm concerned. So it's not coming from.
A lot to be upset about.
Yeah.
A lot, and if you're not upset about something, that's because you're being willfully blind to what's right in front of you. And you know, again, that's just me.
Well, you being you and me and blah, 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 and whatever box you want to create, you're boxless. I already know that about you. So people out there, I'd like to keep continuing you to have those uncomfortable conversations, get in those uncomfortable places, because that's the only way you're going to learn and grow about other people, and especially about the cannabis plant and what you don't know, because it amazes me what I've learned in the last 6 months of the stuff I thought I knew that I didn't know. So I'm getting educated by the people in the cannabis community like you, and here listening in on Clubhouse that I just love and respect so much as wonderful spirits. So just thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. You know, talking about change, talking about doing things differently. I do this exercise sometimes if I've got a group of people and we're talking about, you know, things like this, and whether, you know, you're trying to find your place in the fight or you're, you know, you don't even know where to begin. I have an exercise. I forget that there's people listening live. I have an exercise for all of us to do together. So, you too, Casey. So let's put our hands up and cross our fingers like this and see where our thumbs are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, switch your thumbs.
Ooh, that feels weird.
Because change feels weird and change feels different.
Fucking stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Oh my. Jyl, everybody. I love this woman. Okay, Jyl, thank you very much. Where can everybody catch Hempbest website and social media?
Hemp, HEMP -best, BEST.com, hempbest.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at Real Smokeahonis, one word.
That is the best Instagram name ever, by the way. Real Smokeahonis. Jyl, I'm so blessed you came on this show. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you, Casey. Have a good rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
And everyone live on Clubhouse, we got another interview coming up here in like 5 minutes, so stay tuned. Everyone on the official audio podcast or checking this out on YouTube, thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing, liking, following, commenting, whatever you do. Even thank you for your hatred. All those that hate me and your mean comments towards me, I respect it. I love it. Keep it coming. So we'll see y'all down the road.